Now let's go on to conversation. Brother Dale Partridge, love Dale Partridge, and we, of course, as in most cases, don't agree on everything, but he is a brother in the Lord. He loves Jesus, and so he had a post that I thought was a worthy conversation to have on X a couple of weeks ago, and this was the post, and we'll make some comments about it. Brother Partridge says, martial arts is not feminine because fighting is not feminine. Sure, teach women self-defense, provide them with weapon training, and have them carry a pistol, but try explaining to your great-great-grandmother why you're cultivating masculine warrior traits in your daughter. So the context there is martial arts is not feminine because fighting is not feminine. Teach them self-defense, give them a weapon training, and have them carry a pistol, but try explaining to your great-great-grandmother why you're cultivating masculine warrior traits in your daughter. Some of this, of course, I agree with, and some of this, I think, is the inconsistency I would want to call down when you can't think in categories, right? So he says, but try explaining to your great-great-grandmother why you're cultivating masculine warrior traits in your daughter. Well, I think you already answered, Brother Partridge, why you are cultivating these fighting skills in your daughter. You're doing it so they can defend themselves against an attacker in a violent and hostile world. So if someone said, well, try explaining it to your great-grandmother. I'd say, Grandma, you know that we live in a fallen world, and you know that we're trying to wait for the day when there is peace in the world because everyone loves Jesus, but currently there are violent men and hostile men in this world. And so we're teaching our daughters skills to defend themselves against violent attackers. Do you think your grandmother would have a problem with that? Right? So this conversation goes on, and what I want to say here is that there's inconsistencies here that I believe could lead to harm to women when you try to tell them not to do these things. When you try to tell them not to develop these skills, it could lead to harm because they could find themselves in a situation where they could have prepared for with some training. And when we poo-poo the idea of women training in the martial arts, what do you do when that person actually could have used those skills against a violent attacker and now they're dealing with rape? And I'm somebody who has had so many rape victims in front of me. I have rape victims close to me, and I don't want to see women endure that kind of evil any longer. So Jeremy says, agree that fighting is not feminine. It's never preferred, but in a fallen world, it's necessary. Very good, Jeremy. You got it. There's the point.
I think that's proper balance.
That's a very proper balance. You can say that this is supposed to be man's work. The man is supposed to be the warrior. The man is supposed to be the fighter. You should not put women into combat. All of that you can hold on to. That's biblical worldview stuff. We don't put women into combat. All that is evil stuff. You don't ever throw women into combat. However, it's a fallen world. There's a context. Sometimes women don't want to be in combat. They don't want to be warriors. And then they find themselves potential victims by very violent men. So what do we do? In a fallen world, say, well, sweetheart, fallen world, just be a victim. No, how about we actually say, hey, you know what? After all these centuries, all these millennia, we've actually developed martial science, fighting science, the science of fighting. Yes, it's called martial arts too, but inside it's a science. And there is a science to being able to defend yourself. And wouldn't it be nice if you gave to women the ability to have a certain set of just basic skills to defend themselves against an attacker? Because it does work. Now, like, for example, this guy, Jeremy, goes on to say, in Canada, for example, giving your daughter a pistol is a ticket straight to jail. Right. So what do you do in that context? No one can carry a weapon in public in any circumstance. And so Dale responds to that. Brother Dale responds to that and says, I understand the conundrum. I would say you obey God and not man. Okay, we agree with you, Dale. Good. You give your daughter pepper spray or a knife or risk her carrying a gun because jail is better than rape or death. I will say just a disagreement. Well, not a disagreement. A caveat I'd say to this is, yes, but if you give a woman a knife, you had better give her some knife training with it.
Yeah.
Let me just say, if a guy, I've done knife training for many years. I did Kali and then knife training, and even after learning for years knife skills and all of that, and then training with it, and then teaching it, even teaching knife skills, I am still terrified of a person with a knife. And I know guys, Navy SEALs. active duty Navy SEALs that are trained in the same way to kill people with knives, and they'll say the same thing. Like, if I have an attack with a knife, I'm trying to get, even if I know how to defend myself, I'm still doing my best not to have to do it, because
you're going to get sliced.
You are going to get cut. No matter how good you are at knife fighting, you're going to get cut. And so if you say to a woman, here's a knife, sweetheart, you had better give her some pretty extensive training with that knife, because let me tell you what, if a guy is coming at her and he's angry, he wants to assault her or even rape her, and she has a knife, she might get a cut on him, but he's getting that knife from her if she doesn't know how to use it. And so if you're going to give a woman a knife, you can't just say, here's your equalizer, you're good to go. She better get some pretty extensive knife training, and then she will be devastating with that thing. And so here we go. He then says, but the stats show that no amount of training can allow a 120-pound woman to overcome an aggressive 195-pound man. Outside of a divine miracle, it's not a very effective plan. I want to say that I completely disagree with this. The stats, I would say, what stats are you referring to that show that no amount of training can allow a 120-pound woman to overcome an aggressive 195-pound man. Again, this is not an appeal to authority, but I just want to say in my own experience, I've been in martial arts my whole life, teaching martial arts my entire life, all over the country, and I have seen plenty of 120-pound or 140-pound women overcome a 195-pound man or 200-pound man plus. In different categories, striking, even in especially jiu-jitsu and ground fighting and grappling. If you're a 200-pound man and you don't know how to fight on the ground and you're a brawler, but you have a woman who has training on the ground with some really basic jiu-jitsu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills, she's going to tear that man to pieces. She will lock him up. She will choke him out. If you don't know how to fight on the ground against a woman who does, she's going to beat you. She will beat you. And if you doubt that, then I encourage you to find your local Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school.
So it's more, it sounds like what you're saying is it's more, in those cases, it's possible of precision and technique beating raw power and strength, and even timing beating speed.
And you had better hope that it does, because that's the whole reason that you give martial science, pain compliance skills to law enforcement and to military. Because members of the military cannot depend upon just being the biggest and the strongest. They can't. That's out of the realm of possibility. You can't say, let's just find the biggest guys, the strongest guys, and we're going to win every battle. No, it's skill, it's science, it's technique. And so when you send, say, active duty Navy SEALs into a room, they're going into there with skills that have to be able to overcome somebody that is faster, bigger, and stronger than they are. That's why they're so dang good at what they do, because what they do is a science. It's not based upon who's bigger and stronger. As a matter of fact, if it were based upon or was based upon who's bigger and stronger, then law enforcement officials are in huge trouble. How many times have you had a law enforcement officer that finds himself in a very difficult situation with a guy that is much bigger than he is, much stronger, better skills than he has? And that law enforcement officer has to have the right martial science skills to be able to put that larger attacker into some sort of pain compliance to get him under control, to detain him and ultimately arrest him. I mean, that's the whole goal, right? So we talk about rear naked chokes, arm bars, or whatever variation of lock you're looking at. All those things are skills that are supposed to work against somebody no matter how much bigger they are than you. And that's the great benefit of martial arts, the martial sciences. That's the great benefit of all these skills, is it doesn't matter how big you are.
Can I summarize here and then ask you a question about this? Because this is curious. The more we peel back the layers here, it sounds like one person's contention is like, women shouldn't do this because martial arts is fighting and men fight, not women. But then we have the old idea of, okay, we live in a fallen world though, and we have to train women to protect themselves from men that are stronger than they are because of the God-given biological differences between the sexes. Like, there's no way of avoiding that. So would the position be, okay, all of it, like train them to shoot, train them to fight with a knife, train them Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like nothing's off the table?
Yeah. I would say, just if a woman who's watching this said, Look, I'm not looking to become a master martial artist, which I'd say, of course, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I do want to have some basic, strong fighting skills. I would say, she said, I have a year to dedicate to this, where I'm going to go all in and really do it. I would say you're going to find yourself, I think, two important things to start with in terms of the hand-to-hand and the grappling. You want to find a good striking system. So I would say if you only had a year to train, you're not trying to master a system, you need to find like a kickboxing, Muay Thai kickboxing, so you can learn to use your hands and especially your feet with like the Muay Thai round kick and the foot jab, things maybe like a basic side kick. And then of course you want to learn, like you want to make sure you go to a good, jiu-jitsu school, Brazilian jiu-jitsu school. So I would say to a woman, I'd say you need to learn some basic striking skills. And I would say you're not going to do better than Muay Thai as a quick learn how to punch, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, elbow, headbutt. And then, of course, foot jab, roundhouse kick, and side kick. Those are the basics. That's pretty much all you need in a street fight. And then you want to learn some basic ground skills, find a good BJJ school around you and work out the basics of ground fighting and learn the basic locks and the chokes and things like that, how to maneuver on the ground, the guard, side mount, stuff like that. But then also, yes, learn to shoot. Like, you can solve a lot of the problems with just making sure you have a gun in your bag and you learn to shoot. This episode is brought to you by Ion Layer at ionlayer.com. Go and check out the health benefits, the wellness benefits, and longevity benefits of NAD treatments. NAD is nicknamed the fountain of youth for a reason. You have an abundance of this in your system when you're young. As you get older, it drops off, and now we've found a way to get NAD into our systems. They do it through IV treatments, but they're very expensive, and it's also extremely painful and difficult. However, Ion Layer found a way to get a high dose of NAD into your system through a medical patch you wear on your arm. You wear it for about 14 hours. You get a high dose of NAD treatment into your system and no pain at all. And it is a fraction of the cost of what you would pay for an IV treatment. In the coupon code, type in Apologia in all caps. They're going to hook you up with a great discount for an already amazingly cost-effective product. And they bless Apologia Studios and help us to stay on the air and do all these programs with you. Don't forget also, Ion Layer has added a glutathione patch as well. Glutathione, the master antioxidant. Go check out the health benefits of glutathione. I'm doing this stuff anyways. It's blessed my life in tremendous ways. And so if you want to focus on your health, wellness, and longevity, nothing better in my mind than ionlayer.com for your NAD and glutathione treatments. ionlayer.com. Don't forget to put Apologia in all caps in the coupon code.